Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center at Aligarh Muslim University. It's indeed a pleasure for all of us to have you here, ma'am. And Madam Faiza is very dynamic director. She has contributed a lot towards the teacher training as a part of this Malviya Mission Teachers Training Center, as well as they are. She is looking after a lot of activities in her university. She is associated with the Department of Environmental Sciences there in Aligarh Muslim University, and she is an environmentalist and has contributed through her research and and in the teaching in the university and in the various other platforms. Ma'am, we welcome you. It's a pleasure to have you. And for today, she will be discussing about the various, on the holistic and multidisciplinary education, where she'll be talking about the human values, ethics, personality development, and environmental consciousness, which is again a very important part of this NEP sub-themes, which we are discussing here. So I welcome you, ma'am, on the behalf of all the participants and the MMTTC at BPSMB. And I'm extremely thankful for your kind gesture of being here. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Shefali. I can understand how sick both of us are today. But this is our commitment to NEP that brings us here. I'm very grateful to you for giving me this opportunity to speak to so many different participants on environmental consciousness as part of the sub-theme 3 of the first theme, that is on holistic and multidisciplinary education. So, my dear participants, I have already been introduced. I see environmental consciousness as a very integral part of leadership and leadership development and leadership style. Because it is one thing to be a loyalist to the theme of environment, environmental studies, environmental sciences. We have biodiversity, we have climate. It is one thing that makes you a scientist. But it is also important for us to note that this is one very vital consideration for society today, which matters to and which is relevant to regardless of regard their occupation and regard. So if we are looking at some leadership development training here as part of the new education policy, we need to know that our education has to be holistic in the sense that we need to keep a proper consideration for human values, for ethics, for personality development in the students, and also for inculcating environmental consciousness in our students. Because this is something related to the lifestyle, something that is relevant to everyone. Some time back, the General Secretary of the United Nations had said that environment is one thing in which anyone and anywhere can make a difference. So, because we all have such lifestyles that are directly related to nature, that are directly related to environment, that are directly related to our biological ecosystem. So, it is important that we consider these changes that we need to bring in our lifestyles, so that not only our lifestyles are healthy, but our lifestyles are also environmentally robust, and we are able to utilize the natural resources of the earth, water, forests, food, biodiversity, energy, etc., in such ways that are environmentally sustainable. We are not against development. All this education that we are promoting and professing is only because we are very, very much in favor of development, but we are in favor of sustainable development. That is why I think, very rightly so, when this NEP orientation and sensitization program was being planned, it was being implemented, then in the very first theme, that is the theme on holistic and multidisciplinary education, there are other topics also under this theme, but in the very first theme, as part of the syllabus, as part of the curriculum, the third sub-theme has this important aspect of environmental consciousness. So I would like to tell you how I have planned this session with you. We have another, I think, about eight, 80 minutes, let's say, or a little less. So in the first half an hour, we will be discussing what is environmental consciousness. And then, because it is one thing to know a certain theory or a certain consideration or a certain finding and outcome, but this is one topic where it is encouraging, inspiring, and inviting participation, action. So environmental consciousness is geared towards giving that kind of stimulus to the present day human generation for treating the environment sustainably. Now, for that, we need to take certain steps. We need to steps in our lifestyles. We need to take steps, because I know I'm talking to a group of teachers who are all every day working as campuses. आप सबके जो कॉलेज हैं और आप सबकी जो यूनिवर्सिटी है, वो आपकी कर्म भूमि है ना. तो वहाँ पे जैसे आप अपने घर से मोहब्बत करते हैं, जैसे आप अपने देश से मोहब्बत करते हैं, वैसे आप अपने इदारे से भी ज़रूर बहुत मोहब्बत करते होंगे. आपको वहाँ जाके आपकी अपनी पहचान का, आपकी अपनी अहमियत का, इसका एहसास होता होगा. इट इंस्टिल्स अ सेंस ऑफ आइडेंटिटी, अ सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस, एंड देन certainly a sense of confidence in a certain employee for whom an extended part of his home range is his or her institution. आप अपने घर में जिस तरह आधा समय बिताते हो, वैसे ही अपनी जिंदगी का आधा समय आप अपने कॉलेज में बिताते होंगे. तो इस कॉलेज की जो जमीन है, इस कॉलेज का जो आसमान है, इसकी जो हवा है, इसमें जो पानी है और इसमें जो एनर्जी है, और इसके अलावा भी जो भी और प्राकृतिक संसाधन या कुदरती वसाइल जिनका आप अपने इस कॉलेज में इस्तेमाल करते हैं, उनको भी बड़ी जिम्मेदारी के साथ इस्तेमाल करना होता है. तो इन द नेक्स्ट स्टेप आई विल बी शेयरिंग विद यू सम इम्पॉर्टेंट स्टेप्स दैट माय यूनिवर्सिटी हैज टेकन, इट हैज बीन टेकिंग, and it is on the path to progress. I will not say it is a completely green campus and it is 100% sustainable, but just like I keep referring back to the saying of the United Nations Secretary General who said once that anyone anywhere can make a difference. So when it comes to a green campus, of course, no such campus is 100% green, but wherever we are on that plane, whatever we can do, whatever little wastage we can curtail, whatever little energy we can conserve, and whatever little biodiversity we can provide a refuge to, that will be, I won't say good enough, but that will be very satisfying. Very satisfying. The thing is that we don't know how things are going to unravel and unfold in times to come, and what others are going to do, and how whether there is a peril at the end of all this or not. We're bothered about it, but we can't do something about it. It is all beyond our control. Now, what is in our control is this, that we can adopt sustainable lifestyles, we can adopt sustainable practices, and we can work towards building green campuses. So first I will tell me when my slide moves, okay? So what I am first showing you is this, the 8 core NEP themes, of which holistic and multidisciplinary education is very important, and it's the first. And in this we have environmental consciousness. So just like ICT is important, just like student diversity and inclusive education is important, just like research and development, Indian knowledge system, skill development, and others are so important for the implementation of NEP. Similarly, holistic and multidisciplinary education with the inclusion of environmental consciousness is important. So these are the topics of environmental consciousness. First is environment and ecological balance and interdependence of all beings living and non-living. This is high school, or let's say primary school science these days, that we all need the natural ecosystem to survive in today. Tell me, has my slide moved? Somebody, will you please confirm that the slide
Yes,
has
ma'am.
moved?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Disha Batra. Thank you for confirming. So, this is high school, or let's say primary school science, that everything in the environment, everything in the ecosystem is interconnected, that there is interdependence of the biotic factors and the abiotic factors. And this is how all our food is produced. This is how all our water is cycled and recycled. And this is how all our energy comes to us, and all our air is purified, and all the basic needs of not just mankind, but needs of life on the living planet. Everything is interdependent. So we can't say, we can't say that if there is smog in Delhi, then I can't do anything about it because I live in, let's say, the northeast, or I live in the south of India, or I live on the islands. One day it will all come back. It happens. Say, and if somebody says something like this, I would say he or she is behaving like the last president of the United States, who had kind of failed in his primary school geography exam, when he said that the United States is not concerned with the climate change and the carbon emissions in the world, and the lifestyle of the people of the United States cannot be compromised for global warming and for climate change. We will continue to emit carbon. There will be no sanctions on carbon emissions on the people of the United States. And I don't care if there is global warming, because of which there is glacial ice melting, because of which there is sea level rise, and because of which the fishing villages in coastal regions and small islands and small island nations will all be marooned one day. They will be gone from the map of the world, and the people and the communities and the livelihoods will all be struggling for their existence. He said, I don't care. Why? Because he was having a short-sighted, insular vision of things. He thought that the United States of America exists in isolation from the rest of the world, whereas this is not true. Maybe for his term of 4 years of he was there for 4 years. Thankfully, he could not get another term of it would have been 8 years. But thankfully, for his term, the United States was not affected. But if this is how global warming and this is how climate change 35-40 years, we will have reparable climate change, because energy was impact of threatened, near threatened, least concerned, such lists of species. And we are seeing populations of wild animals, populations of wild birds dwindling every year, populations plummeting every year. So this is how the bad impact of overuse and excessive use and abuse of non-living factors like soil, like water, like all the sources of energy, they are impacting the living beings, impacting threatened species of flora and fauna. So today, if you want to harm wildlife, just going to the forest and killing the tigers with a gun is not the only way you can harm wildlife. Of course, that is one of the most direct and tangible and easily understood ways of harming wildlife. But that's not the only one. Today, if you want to harm wildlife, you can even harm it because it is indirectly related to carbon in the air. So wildlife can be harmed. It can be very badly harmed, even if you are maximizing on your own carbon emission, even if you are buying uh, land around a tiger reserve and trying to convert it into a agricultural field, even if you are using excessive fertilizers and pesticides in those agricultural fields that are alongside a tiger reserve or alongside a wildlife sanctuary. Because what will happen is that the fertilizers, chemicals, pesticides, they will run off in the water that enters the sanctuary, that enters the national park. The same water will be used for drinking by all the animals there. Some of them would be endangered species. If not, then the same water will be soaked up by the vegetation there. That's how, again, the ill effects of pesticides and chemicals and fertilizers that will enter the food chain. And that's how also the breeding success of the tiger might be impacted. The population of tigers might dwindle, even if you have not killed tigers, even if what you have been doing is seemingly it's innocuous, and you are maybe doing it in the name of development, and maybe you are doing it in the name of your own progress. But that's not the only outcome. There will be a byproduct, and as a byproduct to that, the the living and non-living ecosystem will suffer, and one day it will be so badly degraded that your own survival in that ecosystem will not be possible. So you can, when you see this kind of interdependence and this kind of beautiful balance in the ecosystem, then you respect nature. You know, we belong to a culture, we belong to a country, we belong to a Sanskriti, I must say, where we respect nature. In our country, there are communities that worship species. In our country, there are communities that hold forests and ponds as sacred. They are called sacred groves.
दो बच्चे सो गए अभी तक चलो 5 मिनट और
Sangeeta Tushir, madam. Sangeeta Tushir, madam. Sangeeta, madam. Okay, mute yourself. Right. So we are a nation where we have had a very, very long tradition of sacred groves. We've had a very long tradition of worshipping species, pantheism and paganism. These are cultures in which we respect nature. We do not harm nature unnecessary, and we do not waste. We are a country and we are a people who do not waste, who have sanctions upon wasting natural resources. So when you respect nature, then this kind of vandalistic behavior that has led to this type of environmental devastation will not happen. Well, then there is environmental conservation and enrichment, because all aesthetic sense comes from the environment. Don't you agree with me? Your ideas of beauty, your ideas of aesthetics, and your ideas of good design design, fashion, let's say art, architecture, sculpturing, everything comes from nature, because nature had existed much before mankind.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, because nature, म्यूट करिए राकेश कुमार जी म्यूट कीजिए. Okay, because nature has been existing ever since, and it has been changing forms. There have been various eras and epochs of evolution, but man has found his mankind. I'm saying, I'm not saying man. I don't want to sound sexist here. Mankind has found its own existence in nature, in these precincts, surroundings full of green plants, full of rivers, full of different types of birds and animals and insects and bees. Now, what we have evolved to see as right, because this has given us sustenance, this has given us survival, this has been the enabling factor for all the fulfillment of the basic needs of mankind. So we find it beautiful. The color combinations that exist in nature, the shapes, the sizes that exist in nature, we find it beautiful. If I ask you to close your eyes and I ask you to imagine your most beautiful painting, or if I ask you to imagine what a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old will draw on a piece of paper, if you give her a set of crayons and a blank white sheet of drawing paper, what will a small child draw? I'm sure 90% of you would say, and 90% of you would recall from your own childhood also, that your first drawing was a scenery. A scenery that had a mountain with the sun rising, some birds flying in the air, that had some trees and some flowers growing on the ground, and that had one lone house with a chimney on it, a hut type of a cottage type of a house with slanting roofs, with a door, a chimney, and a window, and a path leading to that house. That's our idea of beauty. We know that we will uh, be happy when we are surrounded by nature. Most of the children are living in flats these days. Most of us are living in brick and mortar cement houses these days. Most of the children, I think, have not even seen huts and have never seen small houses in the backdrop of a mountain, lone single houses where there's nothing else. But then, how come if you give a blank sheet of paper to a child and a crayon and you ask him to draw anything, ask a little girl to draw anything, that's what she will draw. Because what we put on paper, what we draw, what we write, is what we dream for. And this is the most beautiful dream of a human being right from childhood, to be ensconced in idyllic, pristine, natural surroundings and have a healthy, peaceful life there. The idea of a small house with just one door and one window but a chimney is such a comforting idea of and no markets around and no roads around and no supermarkets around and no automotive vehicles around. Children don't draw cars. They like to play with cars because you're buying toys from the market and giving them to play as cars, but they're not drawing cars when they are made to draw a drawing. So that's what our aesthetic sense is deeply, deeply rooted in, and it's not changing in 200 years. All this industrial revolution based development that we're seeing has happened in the past few years, 200, maximum 200 years. Before that, We had a natural lifestyle. Before that, we didn't have machines. We didn't have coal. We didn't have energy, much energy, I mean. And we didn't have these issues of environmental devastation. We never felt the need for raising environmental consciousness because we were environmentally stable. We were we were living a sustainable, although we were not developed, but then our lifestyles were not unsustainable. But let me say that again. When I'm saying we want to conserve the environment, I'm not saying we are anti development. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that with all the technology, knowledge, machine learning, and these days AI, and with all the information, ITIS revolution that we have, if we have environmental consciousness, we will be that generation which will find a way to develop sustainably. Because so far, the development we have made, the kind of development that has brought us where we are today, was lopsided, was one-sided, was just concentrating on one side of the coin. The development that we have made is stupendous. It couldn't have been more astounding, I must say. We have gone to the moon, we have gone to Mars, we are thinking of, we are now into space tourism. If you pay a huge amount of money, the same company, Virgin Atlantic, which takes you from Delhi to London, will also pick you up from its base near I don't know which place they have their space base, but the same company, Virgin Galactic, it's called Virgin Galactic, it'll take you to a 10 minutes flight in space, and on that 10 minutes flight you will go only because you want to enjoy the feeling of being weightless, because as soon as you escape the Earth's gravitational field and you enter space, you become a light. So people are spending that kind of money just to be able to experience that kind of lightness. How does it feel like to be in space, to float in a space shuttle, and to be in vacuum, and then to come back? Spending huge amounts of money for that. So this is the kind of progress that we have made. But we fail to realize that this was a one-sided, insular progress that we made without being conscious of the environment. Today we have an ecological crisis. Today we have a climate crisis, and it's not going unless and until we do something about sustainable development. So we need to look at climate change, we need to look at pollution, to waste management, sanitation, biological diversity conservation, biological resource and biodiversity management, forest and wildlife conservation, and sustainable development and sustainability. Right? So, my dear friends, we all know why climate change is happening. We all know what is pollution. We all know that we have to do something with the colossal amount of waste that we are producing. Colossal amount of waste that we are producing. We need to know that one man's waste is another man's wealth. Another man's wealth. What you are throwing out of your kitchen every day can be segregated in two parts: the degradable, the biodegradable, and the non-biodegradable. In two parts. All you need to do is that throughout the day, whenever you go to the kitchen and you make some waste, you peeling vegetables, you are discarding some leftover food, you are discarding the packaging that comes in our houses every day, much as we would like to avoid them, but milk pouches and polythene bags and cold drink cans, these are coming into houses every day. All we need to do is segregate them into two parts. Uh, in most of the cities, I don't know about all, but in most of the cities, the municipal corporation has become mindful of this, and they are sending these garbage trucks to localities every day, and they're singing songs, they're playing some song, Swachh Bharat ke songs, and then they're collecting waste from people's houses. All that people need to do is go and drop their waste, that is segregated waste, one in the degradable bin and another in the non-degradable bin. Every piece of waste that comes out of your kitchen can either be converted into energy. We have a massive W2E project, W2E, waste to energy project, can either be converted into energy, or all the degradable waste that your kitchen is producing, household degradable waste that you're producing, can be converted into soil manure. Soil manure. Tell me if somebody is from Indore here. Anyone? Participants? आप में से कोई इंदौर से है यहाँ? No. So Indore is one city which is getting the first prize for being the cleanest city every year. I think it's been several years in a row that every year Indore is rated as the cleanest city of the country. In Indore, there is a certain public transport service called iBus, Indore Bus, iBus. Just like, London has a tube underground tube station system, Zurich has a tram system, and just like Delhi also has a Delhi metro. Similarly, in Indore, we have the iBus, Indore Bus. On the ring road of the city, a certain track has been enclosed with low walls on both sides, and 5-10 buses are plying on this track, and there are small stations for boarding and deboarding. And on the ring road, people can, without having the need to meet any traffic, because there are small low walls that have segregated this bus track, this line of the bus in on the entire ring road. And what is the fuel for this iBus? Petrol? No. All the non-biodegradable waste, especially polythene, plastic, packaging, that is collected from people's houses and from restaurants and from markets and from malls and from dining halls of institutions or wherever. All these pouches and plastic bags are put to a WTE converter, waste to energy converter. And very similar to gasoline, I'm not actually a chemical engineer, so I will not be able to explain exactly what kind of stuff that is, that substance that is, which comes out from this polythene. But it must be some hydrocarbon, because the basic element for polythene is also hydrocarbons and fossil fuel. And that's what they use for running these iBuses. And it has given good riddance to the city from very bad traffic, because just like all other cities, it was also a city that was grappling with traffic, rush hour traffic every day, morning, evening, bad traffic. But not anymore, because iBus is now a zero maintenance facility that the district administration is running very, very successfully. The other running cost they take from the tickets that the passengers pay. The passengers prefer iBus because they don't have to stand in traffic jams, and it's very smooth. It's noise. They know that it is not causing pollution, and the fuel is free of cost, because the raw material for the fuel is just being collected from people's houses, from localities. And they have this facility called the WTEE facility, which is doing it for them. So, waste management, and this is also helping in keeping the surroundings of the city, the urban spaces, their precincts, the premises very, very clean. So they are achieving the goal of sanitation as well as proper waste management. So this is just one example that I have given you for waste management and sanitation from the city of Indore. There can be many more. There can be many more. I don't know. You might be knowing. If you know, you do tell me. And there is no limit to new and innovative measures that can be introduced in this area, because there are different types of climatic conditions and geographical conditions and also social conditions in various cities across the world. And this kind of cleanliness, hygiene, and sanitation is the goal of any city. Why wouldn't a municipality, why wouldn't a district collector, or why wouldn't a state government want neat and clean cities, good sanitation, good hygiene, and why wouldn't they want good waste management? So a big area for all of us to look at, to look into. And then there is biological diversity. As you know, we are a country of huge diversity of flora and fauna. In the world, there are 12 mega biodiversity countries. 12 mega biodiversity countries. Now, these countries are those that have a variety of geographical conditions and that have a lot of diversity in their flora and fauna. And to the pride of every Indian, India too is a mega diversity country. That is one. Another is that all over the world there are 47 biodiversity hotspots. Now, a hotspot is an area where lots and lots of endemic species are found, and where the diversity is really high. Now, out of these 47 biodiversity hotspots across the world, two are in our country. One is the northeastern Himalayas, and the second is the Western Ghats, that is in the belt alongside Gujarat, Konkan, Maharashtra, and a little bit of Karnataka. So, our biological diversity is very, very precious. And if we want to preserve biological diversity, we have to look into ways and means of coexisting with them, of reducing conflict with biodiversity and wildlife as much as possible. And we have to look into ways of means of having more and more protected areas. There is no other way. Assigning more and more land for the survival of endangered species, letting them survive there, thrive there, letting them fulfill all their requirements, and reclaim their populations, have more and more individuals that we have lost because of habitat destruction and because of poaching. So we will be able to do that if we have more and more forests. But in order to have more and more forest, everybody doesn't have to be as rich as these days we are seeing. Anant Ambani has bought 600 acres of land near Jamnagar, and he has made a wildlife rescue center there. It's a great, great thing that he has done. And, it will help endangered wildlife, and it will help. And then he's having his pre-wedding celebrations there because he wants to project it as a tourist spot, as some place where. But all of us are not that resourceful. But how we can do that? We can do that by adopting sustainable lifestyles, because we began by saying that in the environment, for keeping it ecologically balanced, everything is interdependent. So this was a little discussion on the the topics that are there as part of environmental consciousness. And now I am, with your permission, showing you my second presentation. Okay, so can you see?
Oh, yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Right. So now I'm going to talk to you about the green campus measures that we have taken here at the Aligarh Muslim University. A small step towards trying to fulfill our own responsibility for the environment, for the ecology, and for nature. We call it the Green Campus Project. And considering that these days all of us have to go through NAC and NBA, and then there are these ranking agencies, NIRF and Times Higher Education and QS, which are asking us for data. And one of the important parameters when they are asking us for data is also campus sustainability. So all the steps that here at the AMU we've been taking towards campus sustainability, that I am going to talk to you about. Right. So we all know that this is a university with more than 1,000 acres of. Just a second. Let me see how I can change slides. Okay. Has it changed? Can somebody please confirm whether the slide has changed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Right. So just a second. Just let me take stock of this a little. All right. So this is 100 years of acquiring, keeping, and building a sustainable campus here at the Aligarh Muslim University. Now, I would like to tell you a little story about it. Some of you might be from English, and even if you're not, then some of you might have read, I'm sure, a book called A Passage to India, or heard about it, or maybe you have watched a movie about this book. Now, this book is written by A Passage to India. It's written by one of the greatest English novelists, whose name was E.M. Foster, Ernst Maugham Foster. And he has written several classics. Several classics can be attributed to him. This book, as you would see, is dedicated to Masood, his friend Masood. His name was Ross Masood. And he was his friend when Ross Masood was 17 years old and he had gone to the UK to study in Cambridge. And at that time, Ross Masood was the son of Sayyid Mahmood, who was the son of Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. So Sir Syed Ahmad Khan was the founder of this university, the MAO College. He was the founder of the MAO College. And he wrote this book dedicating it to the grandson of the founder of MAO College, Masood, Sir Ross Masood, who was his friend, Ernest Maugham's friend. And they met in Cambridge. Was living in Aligarh. Then he invited Sir E.M. Foster to come and visit India on his invitation and stay with him for some time. So he came sometime in the 1930s. He came and he stayed in the college, in the university guest house, and probably he arrived at night. So when he woke up in the morning, he looked out of the window when he was living in the house of Sir Ross Masood. Then he looked out of the window, and what was his first impression? His first impression of the place where Foster woke up and looked out of the window was that of a large garden with dense vegetation, trees with shady crowns, and what not when one tries to look for birds and bees and butterflies and lizards. So this was in 1930s, and this was documented by E.M. Foster. So this university, we have always valued our biological wealth. We are in the dry deciduous forests of India. We get good rainfall, we get good diversity of weathers. It's really hot during the summers, and it's really cold during the winters, and that blesses the region with more diversity. So in that background, today, of course, we are a university with a very high ranking, we have high reputation, we are an institution of national importance, and so on and so forth. Now, these are the measures that we have been taking in the last few years to maintain and to have a green campus. First is, of course, saving electricity, because we want to be sustainable regarding energy. Now, sustainable energy is something very important when it comes to climate change and when it comes to global warming. So, in the past few years, the university took measures and replaced all the old CRT and CFL bulbs with LED, which saves electricity, and it reduces power consumption. And then technologies like power factor control and centralized VRV air conditioning are also used because they reduce power consumption. Then the students gathered themselves into a small student group called Udharak. They made a student group called Udharak, and they increased student participation for saving electricity. So they started distributing slips and cards, and they started having Nukkar Natak and started having a narrative for electricity conservation. Then the university took steps for designating one energy monitor in every unit. So we have 137 departments, and we have so many central facilities. I work at the UGC MALAVIYA Mission Teacher Training Center, so I'm the director there. Ours is a central facility. The library is there, it's a central facility. And we are also a residential university. So we have 21 halls of residence. I will come to that later also. So in about more than 300 units, more than 150 units, we have energy monitors. Now, an existing staff member of that unit is given the designation of energy monitor, and we have meetings for these monitors, and they are rewarded if the power consumption of their departments has been reduced. So this is about sustainable energy. Then now we have a project with the Ministry of Heavy Industries, and it is called CARET. So under that, we have established a Center for Advanced Research in Electrified Transportation. So this will also be a major and a very effective step in reducing carbon emissions, because it will not be using petrol. Then we have at the CARET. CARET is, of course, a very, very highly specialized, very sophisticated lab. and it is a part of our engineering college facility. It's a very, very advanced center, and it is for an industry academia synergy for a sustainable, smart, and safe electrical mobility. So MOUs are exchanged with the other automotive industries, and research has been going on. And there have also been collaborations with other foreign universities at the Karet Center. Then after energy, the most important is water conservation. So for this, an EU-sponsored project we have in the university, which is an initiative in collaboration with the EU for treating wastewater. And this is called the Swings Wastewater Treatment Plant. Effluent water from all units is directed towards this wastewater treatment plant, and this effluent water, it is treated there, and then it does not become potable, but it certainly becomes worth being used for irrigation. So this partner has this project has many partners, and this is also a project that is implemented in other places. So they have a good grant for this, and now this facility is there. And now with the help of this facility, on a regular basis, municipal waste generated by the university is treated there, and the outcome is in terms of sewage as manure and irrigation quality water for agriculture, horticulture, fishing, etc. is being utilized. So all the sewage water is not being dumped into a river or into a pond or into a nala. All this sewage water is being treated, and then it is put back into the water cycle. So these are some pictures of the Swings facility. In a beaker, you can see the treated water there. It looks very clean, but it is not for drinking. So this is a DST and European Union sponsored Swings wastewater treatment plant that treats the sewage water, and it converts it into this water for irrigation, and the residue is the water for irrigation, and the filtrate is the manure. That manure is also given to the agriculturists for growing their crops and for maintaining their crop fields. So that is wastewater treatment. Then, as I said, energy has always been important. We are one of the pioneering institutions in harnessing solar power. So, acres and acres of rooftop and ground-mounted solar PV power plants we have deployed, and we have been deploying since 2015, and that has made us one of the pioneer in the area. We have saved crores and crores of rupees by this solar power plants. Crores and crores of rupees we have been saving because we are producing our own electricity. And there are wonderful pictures. You can see, these are the heritage buildings of the university, old buildings of the university. In these areas, no new buildings are there. These are all the MAO college, the old MAO college buildings where, it's now been almost 150 years. These are 150-year-old buildings. But even on the rooftops of these buildings, we have solar power plants. So we are making very good use of space. And the Prime Minister, in his mission for solar power, has also hailed the country for using the photovoltaic technology and that technology we have been using here. इसमें देखिए मैंने इकबाल का एक बहुत अच्छा शेर लिखा है, खोल आंख ज़मी देख, फलक देख, फिजा देख, मशरिक से उभरते हुए सूरज को जरा देख. So open your eyes, look at the earth, look at the sky, look at the environment. फिजा मतलब environment. खोल आंख ज़मी देख, फलक देख, फिजा देख, मशरिक से उभरते हुए सूरज को जरा देख. So because we are making use of sun that rises from the actually east, and here he means like, you know, the cultural and the civilizational difference that was there between the east and the west, but let us take it in its literal meaning. मशरिक से उभरते हुए सूरज को जरा देख. Look at the sun rising from the east. So, well, we have talked about waste treatment and waste handling. We have a health office in the university. The health office is doing also, I must say, very good work. There are leaf composting units in almost all big gardens. So now we are not burning any leaves from the gardens. I started this presentation talking to you about the huge leafy gardens with shady trees in the AMU campus. We still have them. M. Foster wrote about them several years ago, but we still have them. Large shady trees and a leafy campus. So of course, these are deciduous leaves. As I said, this is a dry deciduous forest type. Champion and Sate have done a forest type classification of India. Evergreen forest, deciduous, dry. We are a dry deciduous type of forest area. If there is no civilization here, the forest naturally will become a dry deciduous type of forest. So a lot of falling leaves, tons and tons of falling leaves we have. Earlier, either the Malis used to burn them or they were collected by tractors and they were dumped somewhere. Now we have these leaf composting units where all the Malis need to do is collect the leaves and put them in these composting units, and over a period of time they become manure. So नीचे से वो खाद निकालते जाते हैं और ऊपर से वो नई पत्तियां उसमें डालते जाते हैं. तो इस तरह से उनकी खाद खरीदने का भी खर्च कम हो जाता है और फिर उनको जो है ये पत्तियों को जलाना नहीं पड़ता है. पत्तियों को जलाना तो बहुत ही गलत है. मैं तो मालियों की एक पूरी वर्कशॉप की थी बहुत अच्छी, जिसमें कि हमने उनसे बिल्कुल एक तरह से उनसे प्रण लिया था, कसम ली थी उनसे कि वो पत्ती जलाएंगे नहीं, क्योंकि एक तो इससे ग्लोबल वार्मिंग, ऑफ कोर्स, एमिशंस, कार्बन एमिशन, और दूसरे रिच मैन्योर which will otherwise have to be bought from the market. तो वो सारा वेस्ट हो जाता है. So having these leaf composters, then having these segregated bins, we have already spoken about segregating waste. Then we had these small battery operated cars which do not emit carbon at all for brooming inside the campus. तो सड़कों की सफाई के लिए ये कार्स खरीदी गई थी जो कि आगे आगे से कि झाड़ू लगाते हुए चलती है. Because you know Aligarh is an education hub and there are so many schools and all around the university and many charitable NGOs. So what the departments do that when they have grant to buy new computers, they don't let these old computers become e-waste. So photocopying machines and other office peripherals, they are replaced under buyback, and then these are given to the charitable NGOs, etc., in order to be processed as green dust. Green dust. So ये बहुत अच्छा है. What they are doing is that no e-waste is dumped. So kitchen and garden waste we have already talked about. Now I told you we are a university with 25,000 students living on the campus. तो 25,000 लड़के लड़कियां हॉस्टल्स में और हॉल्स ऑफ रेजिडेंस में रहते हैं. उनका लंच, ब्रेकफास्ट, डिनर, उनकी टी, स्नैक्स और उनकी पार्टीज, उनके हॉल डिनर्स, उनके फाउंडेशन डे डिनर्स एंड ऑल दैट, ठीक है. A lot of food waste is created. Now, none of this food waste here in the university is thrown in the bin. Either we have a contract with the piggeries, piggeries जो pig rearing के farms होते हैं. So either we have a contract with them, they take all the leftover food and they pay us for that, and then that food is eaten by the pigs, not wasted. Of course, the pigs must be being sold in the market for whatever contribution to the economy that they can make. And then we have been holding these workshops with the Swachh Bharat ambassador of the UP government in Aligarh, Mrs. Preeti Maheshwari. She has been holding workshops with dining hall in charges, with the guest house caretakers, with the officials' residence caretakers. She's been holding these workshops where she is encouraging, inspiring, and teaching how to convert home and kitchen waste into fertilizer, into good quality fertilizer. So I have also done this in my house, and I have a Facebook post also for this, which which is liked by a lot of people. Only with the help of my cook, cleaner, and the gardener, I'm able to do this. All we need to do is we need to have these 2 bins alongside the kitchen, and one large sack or a basket or something like that for dry waste. So we put all the wet waste, गीला कचरा जिसको कहते हैं, that in one of these bins. आपको इसमें नीचे थोड़ा सा चूना डालना है, उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा कोयला डालना है, और फिर उसमें दिन भर कूड़ा फेंकना है. अगले दिन सुबह फिर थोड़ा सा चूना डाल दीजिए, थोड़ा सा कोयला डाल दीजिए, और फिर उस पर दिन भर कूड़ा फेंकिए. कभी कभी आपको हो सकता है इसमें कोकोपीट भी डालना पड़े. कोकोपीट इसको कहते हैं. जब आपका एक डिब्बा भर जाता है तो सिर्फ एक दिन कोई एक डंडी लेके, बड़ी सी डंडी, रॉड या कोई छड़ टाइप की चीज लेके इस कूड़े को चला दे, और फिर इसको कहीं बाहर रख दे ओपन में. अगर बारिश हो रही है तो इसको आप कहीं ऐसे ढकी हुई जगह पे भी, अपनी बालकनी पे भी, अपने वरांडे पे भी रख सकते हैं. 45 दिन तक आप इसको यूं ही छोड़ दें. जब आप इसको खोलेंगे तो महकती हुई अच्छी मिट्टी इसमें से निकलेगी. आप उसको सूंघेंगे, आपको उसमें से कूड़े की बदबू नहीं आएगी. एंड देन यू कैन यूज इट एज दिस मिट्टी, यू कैन यूज इट एज मैन्योर इन योर गार्डन फॉर योर फ्लावर पॉट्स, और यू कैन सेल इट इन द मार्केट. 40 रुपए किलो ये मिट्टी जो है, वो ये जो खाद और बीज की दुकानें होती है वो खरीदती भी है. थोड़ी सी मेहनत करनी है. मैं तो मेहनत नहीं कहूंगी इसको, मैं एक एक्सरसाइज कहूंगी जो हर किसी को आजकल कुछ ना कुछ एक्सरसाइज करनी होती है. अगर आप सिर्फ इसको अपने घर में 10 मिनट ही रोज देने हैं आपको. हाँ, लेकिन अगर आपके यहाँ किचन में कोई हेल्प आता है, कोई कुक आता है, कोई क्लीनर आता है, तो उसको आपको सख्ती से इंस्ट्रक्शन जरूर देना है कि गीला कचरा सूखा कचरा मिक्स करके वो नहीं फेंके. एक दूसरी बास्केट होगी जिसमें आप अपना सूखा कचरा फेंकिए, सारे पैकेट, सारे पॉलिथीन बैग्स, सारी शीशियां, बोतलें, कोल्ड ड्रिंक के कैंस. ये महीने में एक दिन भर जाए, आप इसको कबाड़ी वाले को दे दें. एक कबाड़ी वाले को बुलाएं और उससे कहे कि इसको ले जाओ. मत आप उसको बेचिए, मत आप उसके पैसे लीजिए, यूं ही बस उससे कहिए कि हमारे घर से हर महीने एक दिन आके ये बास्केट उठा के ले जाओ, खाली करके हमें दे दो. ये एक छोटा सा काम है, लेकिन मैं कहूंगी ये एक बहुत बड़ी देश सेवा है. This is a big favor to the country. My kind of nationalism lies in this. My respect for the nature of my country, for the soil of my country, my love for my country that I manifest in keeping it clean and in keeping it sustainable. This is my kind of love. अब मैं कोई सिपाही तो नहीं हूँ कि बॉर्डर पे जाके गोलियां बरसा सकती हूँ. अगर मैं ऐसे नहीं कर सकती हूँ तो मेरे पास अभी देश सेवा करने के क्या क्या संसाधन है, क्या क्या फ्रंट्स हैं जहां पे मैं अपने देश की सेवा कर सकती हूँ. मेरे नजदीक इससे बड़ी कोई सेवा नहीं होगी. अपने देश को साफ रखने की का प्रण ले लें, और इस तरह से हम उसके लिए रोज कोशिश करें. ये एक पूजा की तरह है, ये मेरे लिए ये एक नमाज की तरह है कि एक 10 मिनट का काम है जो हम रोज करते हैं. कूड़ेदान खोलते हैं, उस पर थोड़ा कोयला डालते हैं, और थोड़ा सा चूना डालते हैं, और उसके बाद जब हम कूड़ा फेंकने जाते हैं तो अंधे गूंगे बहरों की तरह नहीं जाते हैं कूड़ा फेंकने, हम देखते हैं कि हमारा कूड़ा क्या है, गीला कचरा है या सूखा कचरा है, और हमने 2 अलग अलग बास्केट्स रख रखी है. वी टॉट दिस टू एवरीवन इन द यूनिवर्सिटी. आई हेल्ड दीज वर्कशॉप्स, and Preeti is a friend, and I did it with her. I'm very happy. This was very, very inspiring, and a lot of people are doing this. Right, then just like my dear participants, I am talking to you here, and then maybe you will go back and talk to your students about this. All this is part of environmental education, awareness and activism. Environmental consciousness फैलाने की हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं. So we have introduced this new paper from the UGC in all the UG courses, जिसमें सभी बच्चों को, जैसे मैंने शुरुआत में कहा, because of the interconnectedness in the environment, it is important that everybody plays a role. So everybody who comes out from an Indian university system with a degree in graduation, and now under the FIUP, also it has been upheld, this graduate student, girl or boy, has studied environmental studies, has passed a paper, a course paper on environmental studies. इसकी हम बहुत फिक्र करते हैं, ठीक है. तो ये हर यूनिवर्सिटी में है और ये यहाँ पे भी है. तो कोई भी सब्जेक्ट किसी भी बच्चे ने पढ़ा हो, उसके अंदर एनवायरमेंटल कॉन्शियसनेस इस तरह से आती है. इसके अलावा वी हैव अ इको क्लब, just like we have a drama club, just like we have a music club, we have a debating club. Students can join in eco club, and eco club में कभी कभी rallies होती हैं. They organize these fox runs, and they also organize environmentally conscious movies screening also. और कभी स्वच्छ भारत पे वो काम करते हैं, कभी सेसेशन ऑफ टोबैको पे कैंपेन करते हैं. इस तरह से हम स्टूडेंट्स का पार्टिसिपेशन, अवेयरनेस एंड एक्टिविज्म में हमेशा इन्वॉल्व करते हैं. लवली गार्डन्स इन द यूनिवर्सिटी, आई ऑलरेडी स्पोक अबाउट इट. देखिए, इस पे बहुत उम्दा एक शेर है, शफक धनक महताब घटाएं, तारे नगमे बिजली फूल. शफक धनक महताब घटाएं, तारे नगमे बिजली फूल. इस दामन में क्या क्या कुछ है, ये दामन हाथ में आए क्यों. तो all these beauties of nature, you know, the rainbow, the flowers, the butterflies, everything we have in a garden. So sometimes we have a flower show, we have old trees, we have botanical importance, exotic trees, and we have a Department of Land and Gardens, and we also have the Victoria Gate Nursery, and then we have a university park. तो इसमें हर साल flower show भी लगता है. Or the big trees in the university, you know, they keep telling you of the changing seasons. अभी देखिए, बाहर के मौसम के ऑनसेट पे हम आपसे बात कर रहे हैं. ये अलग बात है कि क्लाइमेट चेंज का असर इतना बुरा है कि अभी भी इतनी ज्यादा सर्दी पड़ रही है, वरना नॉर्मली नॉर्थ इंडिया में बसंत पंचमी के बाद सर्दी नहीं पड़ती है, नहीं पड़नी चाहिए. लेकिन ये दिस इज ऑल बिकॉज ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट onset of the spring season, because अभी भी fall होगा, फिर spring होगा, तो बहुत ही खुशबुएं हवाओं में होती हैं, और वो मौसम बहार का एक मौसम ही बिल्कुल अलग सा लगता है शाम का. अभी तो आपको नहीं पता चल रहा होगा क्योंकि अभी तो पूरे नॉर्थ इंडिया में बादल ही बादल हैं. बट देन यू नो, चिलबिल के पेड़ और सेमल के पेड़, ये जो पूरे कैंपस में लगे हुए हैं, इनमें जब फूल आते हैं, चिलबिल उड़ती है, पता चल जाता है कि ये बहार का मौसम है. So this university has had a love for nature, and very carefully nature is nurtured. हमारी ये जो डिपार्टमेंट है उससे भी और वैसे भी, in all the entire university property there are a lot of rare flowers and trees and shrubs. ये एक लिस्ट मैं आपको कुछ ये प्लांट्स जो दिखा रही हूँ वो हमारे बॉटनिकल गार्डन्स में है, जो बहुत ही रेयर प्लांट्स हैं. और इसके अलावा कैंपस बायोडाइवर्सिटी की जब हम बात करें तो विद इन द कैंपस वी सी 7 species of mammals and many species of more than 100 species of birds and reptiles. यहाँ तक कि अभी मैं आपको दिखाती हूँ ये I'm sorry नहीं, अच्छा वो इसमें नहीं इंक्लूडेड है. इवन monitor lizard जिसको in the campus and then as I said more than 100 species of birds. I'm showing you a lot of these birds that are found. मोर तो हमारे यहाँ बहुत ही कॉमन है. हर रोज शाम में, कभी कोई शाम ऐसी नहीं आप यूनिवर्सिटी में गुजार सकते हैं जब मोर जोर से ना बोले. फिर ये आप देख रहे हैं there is this beautiful golden backed woodpecker. We have egrets जहाँ कहीं थोड़ा सा पानी इकट्ठा हो जाता है. फिर ये मैना जो आप देख रहे हैं, ये मैना हमने नेस्टिंग बॉक्सेस लगा रखे हैं बहुत सारे पेड़ों के ऊपर कैंपस के अंदर. और ये नेस्टिंग बॉक्सेस में मैना आती है, अपना घोंसला बनाती है, क्योंकि मैना जो है वो एक होल नेस्टिंग स्पीशीज है. तो नेस्टिंग बॉक्सेस में हम एक छोटा सा होल बना देते हैं, तो इट्स वेरी अप्रोप्रिएट फॉर मैना to make her nest in it. कबूतर तो जाहिर है आप सबको पता है, built environment, they have befriended the built environment very well. गौरैया जिसे हम house sparrow कहते हैं, it was a very common bird, but now even the population of the house sparrow has come down. But wherever possible inside the campus, it is preserved. And then हरियल एक हरे रंग का कबूतर होता है, ग्रीन लेग्ड पिजन कहते हैं हम इसको, येलो लेग्ड ग्रीन पिजन कहते हैं इसको. तो वो भी एक उसकी नेस्टिंग साइट हमारे यहाँ है. बहुत एक केमिस्ट्री डिपार्टमेंट के सामने कुछ बड़े बड़े पेड़ लगे हुए हैं, वो हरियल के नेस्टिंग साइट्स हैं. रेड वाटर लैपविंग आपको रात में भी, टिटहरी जिसे कहते हैं, आपको रात में भी बोलते हुए सुनाई दे सकती है. सो मोर देन 100 species of birds, small and big, inside the campus. I haven't been able to show you a picture of each one of them, but yes, more than 100 species of birds. Now, you know, the Holy Quran mentions 22 species of plants, out of which 20 are found on the earth. And one is found in heaven and one is found in hell. ऐसा कुरान का कहना है. Now these 20 species, they are very simple. अंजीर है, खजूर है, और केला है, लौकी है. तो इन plants का, because we have a Quran center here in the university, so of these plants we are making a Quran garden. अदरक है इसमें. तो ये वो पेड़, वो पौधे हैं जिनके बारे में कुरान में कहा गया है कि ये इन्हें खाना अच्छा है और ये अल्लाह की नेमतें हैं. तो एक गार्डन बनाया जा रहा है कुरान सेंटर में, where all those species of plants have been planted which are mentioned in the Holy Quran. Now this is our botanical garden, and this is a group of participants from my own HRDC. So the old, the university had a very old, derelict and dilapidated fort, which was earlier with the Sindhyas, and then with the Marathas, and then with the Afghans, and then now with the British. And from the British, it was bequeathed to the AMU. I'm showing you these pictures of the fort. This fort has a vault also, and this fort has a moat all around it, and it's beautiful, the entire fort. तो fort का जो हमारा एरिया है उसको हमने अपना बॉटनिकल गार्डन और अपना वाइल्ड लाइफ की स्टडीज का सेंटर बनाया है. और इसमें हमारी बहुत अच्छी प्लांट, एनिमल, फ्लोरा, फौना डाइवर्सिटी है, एंड यू नो वी प्रिजर्व इट. So as part of the environmental education, we have ecological research and conservation education. बहुत कम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में वाइल्ड लाइफ साइंस डिपार्टमेंट होता है. हमारे यहाँ आप देख सकते हैं डॉक्टर सालिम अली, जो कि जिन्हें बर्ड मैन ऑफ इंडिया कहा जाता है, वो यहाँ पे हम उन्हें आपको इसलिए दिखा रहे because at his behest this department was established, and he had some influence on Mrs. Indira Gandhi at that time. So at his influence, at his behest, this department of establishment, I'm happily a product of this department. इसके अलावा हमारे यहाँ civil engineering में जो MTech है उसमें there is an MTech in renewable energy also, and so that's what we are doing in the area of green campus. आपके question answer के लिए समय नहीं बच रहा है, इसलिए मैं I will quickly wind up. Now we also have 3 off campuses. One in Murshidabad, another in Malappuram, and another in Kishanganj, that is in Bihar. Now, in तीनों campuses की अपनी अलग geographical conditions है, and all 3 are very beautiful. One is in Bengal, alongside a road, and that influence of the Bhabar, the Tarai Bhabar area can be felt there. Another is in the Simanchal, again alongside a river. And then in Kerala, it's in the montane evergreen forests. Very, very beautiful campuses. 250, 300, 350 एकड़ जगह है तीनों जगह. और ये तीनों campuses में भी एक में आप देख रहे हैं, देखिए स्वच्छ भारत के लिए कैंपेन हो रहा है. दूसरे में आप देखिए कितना खूबसूरत हिल्स के ऊपर चेलामला हिल्स हैं, उनके ऊपर इसको हमारा पूरा मलप्पुरम के कैंपस बनाया गया है. And nice, lovely green campuses that we have and that we are maintaining. Then we also have in Ranikhet the oak forests of Ranikhet in Almora in Uttarakhand. We have the RD estate, which was again, it's 3.7 acres of land, which was again given to purchased in 1948 by Major James William Hewson and his wife, Mrs. Euphemia Hewson, and the seller was Shri Suryakant Mishra. So the entire property comprising the cottage and estate was entrusted to the university in 1958. And now the estate has opportunity to live with nature in its pure and majestic form. So it's very beautiful, and there are species like barking deer, mouse deer, leopard that you can very easily see there. And for somebody who likes birds, oh my God, it's a bird watcher's paradise. There are pheasants, cheer, koklas, monal, which you would not see here, raptors, cuckoos, swifts, kingfishers, beaters, hornbills, woodpeckers, shrikes, minivets, all sorts of birds you will get to see at Ranikhet. So that's what we are doing about keeping a green campus here at AMU. I'm very quickly showing you these slides once more because these are really beautiful slides, and this is some hard work of decades of work spread over decades, and this is a very emulatable example of what a higher education institution can do, of how a higher education institution, apart from contributing to education development, to career development, to professional development, can also play its part in maintaining and having a green campus. So I'm going to stop my presentation here, and I'm going to request some of you to ask questions. We have another 5 minutes. Or any point of discussion. कैसा लगा आपको ये पूरा presentation?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am Dr. Dasha, an assistant professor from Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Manaprashna University. First of all, thank you for taking this session despite of your bad throat and extreme cough. So I just want to ask, I wonder, like on the macro level, how do we balance technological development and environmental the sustainability? sustainability. As when, like you have also talked about the recent developments in AI and in other fields. So when I talk about open AI, which is the new thing or coming into this scenario, I have read a news story which talks about like behind the infrastructure which we are using and the hardware we are using for this open AI, thousands of gallons of water is being used to just cool the hardware down or to cool down the hardware. So in this kind of situations, like what path to follow, or how do we make the balance between this kind of situation and on the contrary technological development, because obviously this is also a must thing.
Yes, see, you raised a very, very pertinent point, Dr. Disha. If technology is the problem, then let technology give the solution.
Right.
Okay. So see, these AI and machine learning people are not poor people. Now, in the UK, say for example, if you have submitted a proposal for a factory, let's say, for which you will be requiring some land, then at the time of the approval of your proposal, you're being ordered to plant 100,000 trees and maintain those trees there. Your responsibility, the state will not do anything. Okay. These AI people and the machine learning people are not poor people. They are not people who are short of any means and any resources. We have regulations, and the regulation should continuously, the law should come into place. And regulations should continuously be relooked and remodeled so that compensation is taken from them. If they are wasting water, let's say, and it's inevitable from them to waste water, I think it will be great that you ask them to sanction 100,000 wastewater or rainwater harvesting plants in the homes of 100,000 citizens.
Right, but the point is, ma'am, on the micro level, like these things we usually don't think or don't do, and sometimes we don't even raise question on such things like what is happening behind this development or this thing. So this is what which makes me really think about when I was just listening to your session.
That, you think of it, and the policymakers need to take a call on this. We vote for them to give us a peaceful, happy society, to be able to bring up our children in a healthy environment. So they need to take a call on this. I always maintain that we are rallying for conservation. That doesn't mean we are anti-development. We want sustainable development, and new and innovative practices have to come into play, and they do come into play.
Right, ma'am.
Thank you. So I think, Shefali ma'am, I think I can take your leave now because time is also up, and
okay, so ma'am, before you leave, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to you. A formal thanks for awareing us or for making us conscious of when it comes to environment or sustainable living. And your session was quite interesting or informative, especially in the context of number one, when you talk about interdependency, whether it is living or non-living beings. Number second, when you talked about aesthetics, like it is deeply rooted in us, starting from our childhood, whether it is design, fashion, or art. Next, I would like to congratulate you on the steps and the initiatives which you have taken in your Green Campus project. And this is surely a motivation for the young faculties like us to be, whenever in the future, we would, or in the present scenario, we would take a stance on that. And finally, once again, I would like to formally thank you for this session on the behalf of the organizers and on the behalf of all the participants attending this session. Thank you so much, ma'am, for this enlightening session.